Reckless Redemption, Trevor's Last Stand GTA Stories. In the gritty, sun-soaked world of Los Santos, Trevor Phillips, the notorious methamphetamine manufacturer, arms dealer, and all-around psychopath, has become an urban legend. The events of his life have been a constant whirlwind of chaos and violence, but something is about to change. In Reckless Redemption, Trevor's Last Stand, we delve into the chaotic mind of Trevor Phillips one more time as he embarks on a journey that will test his limits, sanity, and possibly bring him redemption. Chapter 1: The Invitation. The dry desert wind blew across the barren expanse of Trevor's makeshift home, rustling the tattered American flags that fluttered around his trailer. He sat on a dilapidated lawn chair, cradling a half-empty bottle of whiskey, gazing at the vast emptiness that surrounded him. Trevor Phillips, the notorious criminal mastermind, felt a strange sense of peace out here in the desolation, far away from the chaos of Los Santos. But peace for Trevor was always fleeting. It was in this very moment, as he took a swig from the bottle and let the fiery liquid sear his throat, that a sudden glimmer caught his eye. A flash of white paper, carried by the capricious desert breeze, landed at his feet. Trevor's scraggly beard twisted into a smirk as he picked up the discarded parchment. Unfolding the paper, his bloodshot eyes scanned the meticulously handwritten words. "You are invited," it said in bold, sinister letters. The corners of Trevor's lips curled into a wicked grin as his crazed mind danced with the anticipation of what this invitation might entail. "Who the hell would be sending me an invitation out here in the middle of nowhere?" Trevor mumbled to himself, scratching his matted hair. He'd cut ties with most of the world long ago, and few knew of his whereabouts. As he read further, the note offered an address within the dark heart of Los Santos, an address that triggered a cacophony of memories and emotions in Trevor's chaotic mind. Trevor had sworn never to return to the city, but the curiosity was like a parasite gnawing at his insides. "Who's daring enough to pull me back into that mess?" Trevor growled, his fingers clutching the invitation with a mix of trepidation and excitement. He wasn't one to back down from a challenge, especially not when it arrived with such an air of mystery. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, sinister shadows that danced around Trevor's compound, mirroring the turmoil within his mind. He took one final swig from the whiskey bottle and hurled it into the distance, the shattering glass echoing through the silence. With a resolute exhale, Trevor made his decision. "Let's see what kind of chaos awaits me this time," he muttered, his eyes gleaming with anticipation. He had a feeling that this invitation would lead to something bigger, something far more destructive than anything he had ever experienced. As the night descended and the desert embraced its enigmatic visitor, Trevor Phillips began preparing for his return to the city he had once terrorized. Chapter 2: Return to Chaos. The sun cast long, sinister shadows across the sprawling desert as Trevor Phillips' rusted pickup truck rumbled down a dusty highway. The invitation had arrived, and the very notion of returning to Los Santos, the city where he had left a trail of blood, fire, and chaos, was enough to send shivers down his spine. His hands tightened around the steering wheel, fingers calloused from years of violence and drug production, as he contemplated the impending chaos. The moment he entered the city limits, Los Santos greeted him with its signature blend of hedonistic decadence and urban squalor. Bright neon lights illuminated the night, casting an eerie glow over the streets below. The city had evolved since Trevor's last reign of terror, but one thing remained constant: the treacherous terrain of the criminal underworld. Trevor's unease was palpable. Memories of his past atrocities haunted him. He couldn't help but wonder if old enemies had resurfaced, hungry for revenge. The vengeful ghosts of those he had wronged, whether from a severed drug deal or a fiery explosion, lurked around every corner. As he parked his truck in an alley, the pungent odor of decayed garbage mixed with the acrid tang of exhaust fumes. The city's discordant symphony of sirens, distant gunshots, and raucous laughter echoed through the air. Trevor stepped out of the vehicle, his combat boots crunching on discarded beer bottles, crushed cigarette butts, and forgotten dreams. Walking along the cracked sidewalks, Trevor's eyes darted nervously from one corner to the next, his gaze darting to the faces of passers-by, his paranoia manifesting in every twitch of his muscles. He knew the city was a snake pit, and at any moment, the venomous fangs of retribution could strike. At a seedy bar, he entered a den of lowlifes and miscreants, the place where he had once been the kingpin of chaos. The patrons, still lost in their vices, paid him no heed. They had either forgotten or chosen to ignore the terror he had once wrought. Or perhaps, they simply didn't recognize him behind the scruffy beard and disheveled appearance he had adopted in his life of solitude. But it wasn't just old enemies who had him on edge. As Trevor sipped his drink, he noticed a new crowd of dangerous individuals emerging from the shadows. Faces he had never seen before, their motives unknown. Were they allies or adversaries? The uncertainty gnawed at him, reminding him that Los Santos was a city of shifting loyalties. As the night deepened, Trevor found himself immersed in a tumultuous world he had long tried to escape. Each corner turned, each encounter, was a journey deeper into the abyss of chaos. The city seemed both familiar and alien, a place where he was both predator and prey, the very embodiment of a return to chaos. The sound of sirens in the distance brought him back to reality. He knew he had to navigate the treacherous terrain of Los Santos, not just to unravel the puppet master's plan, but to confront his own past and demons. In this city where darkness and danger were around every corner, Trevor's paranoia and unease were justified, for the chaos he had sown still lingered, waiting to ensnare him once more. Chapter 3: Unlikely Alliance. The evening sun cast long shadows over Los Santos as Trevor Phillips, his anxiety gnawing at him, navigated the bustling streets. The invitation from the enigmatic puppet master had pushed him back into the city he had both terrorized and been terrorized by. It was a decision that weighed on his mind as he recalled past sins. Trevor wandered into a dimly lit underground club, the air thick with tension, sweat, and the faint scent of cheap cologne. The sound of throbbing bass reverberated through the floor, merging with the low hum of hushed conversations. A ring in the center of the room held the focus of the patrons, where two fighters were locked in brutal combat. As Trevor observed the fighters, his attention was drawn to a striking woman standing at the edge of the ring. Maria, her name whispered through the crowd, had a reputation that preceded her. Her long, jet-black hair cascaded down her back, contrasting sharply with her fair skin. She was a woman of few words, and her hardened demeanor hinted at a life filled with adversity. Their eyes met briefly, and for a moment, a strange sense of recognition passed between them. It was as though their paths had crossed before, even if only in the violent chaos of Los Santos. Trevor decided to approach her. As he made his way through the crowded club, the unsettling sensation that he was walking into a trap gnawed at him. Still, curiosity and a strange sense of purpose urged him forward. He reached Maria, who turned to face him with a guarded expression. "Maria, right?" Trevor asked, his voice tinged with caution. She nodded, her eyes never leaving his face. "And you're Trevor Phillips. I've heard a lot about you." A faint smirk curled on Trevor's lips as he scratched his scruffy beard. "All good things, I hope." Maria's lips twitched, forming a faint smile. Depends on your definition of good. But I've heard you're a man who gets things done. Trevor's curiosity grew. What brings you here tonight, Maria? She paused for a moment, seemingly debating how much to reveal. The puppet master, she finally said. I've got a score to settle with him. Trevor's interest was piqued. So do I. He's the reason I'm here. A silent understanding passed between them, cementing their common goal. The puppet master had drawn them both into his twisted game, and together they could stand a better chance of unraveling his plans. Maybe, Trevor began, we should join forces. Together, we can give this puppet master a taste of his own medicine. Maria eyed Trevor, her piercing gaze assessing him. He had a reputation as a loose cannon, but there was a glint of determination in his eyes that intrigued her. She extended her hand, and after a moment of hesitation, Trevor shook it firmly. The unlikely alliance was formed, born from a shared desire for revenge and a twisted sense of justice. In that dimly lit club, amid the chaos of Los Santos, Trevor and Maria took their first steps towards the underground tournament, knowing that together they would stand a chance against the puppet master and whatever challenges lay ahead. As they left the club, the camaraderie between them grew, setting the stage for their participation in the harrowing events to come. Chapter 4. The Puppet Master's Game Begins. The night was drenched in neon, casting eerie and shifting shadows across the clandestine fight club's entrance. Trevor and Maria, clad in their respective fighting gear, entered the dimly lit arena. A palpable tension hung in the air, a tension that seemed to be woven into the very fabric of Los Santos itself. As they walked through the narrow corridors, Trevor couldn't help but feel the oppressive weight of the secret society that had orchestrated this underground tournament. It wasn't just a fight club, it was a theater of the macabre, a stage for the most sinister of players. They reached the locker room, where the fighters gathered before each match. Trevor glanced around, noting the grim expressions etched into the faces of their fellow competitors. They were no ordinary fighters. These were hardened criminals, each with their own story, their own reasons for stepping into this blood-soaked arena. Trevor's jaw tightened as he observed the stark contrast between the fighters. Maria, a disciplined and skillful combatant, carried herself with an air of professionalism, while the others exuded an unsettling mix of desperation and cruelty. It was a volatile cocktail, ready to explode at any moment. In the ring, the spectators roared with anticipation, their faces hidden behind masks and disguises, as if the entire event was orchestrated to keep their identities concealed. Trevor and Maria could feel the weight of hundreds of eyes on them, a collective hunger for violence that permeated the very atmosphere. Their first opponents were called into the ring, and Trevor watched as the battle unfolded. The fighters were ruthless, relentless in their pursuit of victory, but Trevor and Maria showed remarkable prowess and teamwork. They displayed a synergy that was nothing short of mesmerizing, the fluid dance of combat between them more akin to art than violence. However, it was not just the physical battles that defined the night. The puppet master's influence was felt behind the scenes, like a phantom orchestrating a sinister symphony. Whispers of his influence reached Trevor and Maria, revealing a web of deceit that had ensnared Los Santos' criminal elite. Between matches, they gathered intelligence from other fighters, piecing together the puppet master's true intentions. The puppeteer reveled in pitting the city's most dangerous criminals against each other, with the ultimate goal of taking control of the city's criminal empire. It was a game of power, manipulation, and sadistic amusement. With each revelation, the stakes grew higher, the tension mounting to an almost unbearable level. Trevor could feel the noose tightening around them as they delved deeper into the puppet master's game. It was a perilous path they tread, one that could lead to salvation or destruction. As they prepared for their next match, Trevor and Maria exchanged a knowing look. They were in the heart of the Puppet Master's twisted game, and the final act was yet to unfold. With their bond growing stronger, they were determined to unveil the puppeteer's true identity and put an end to this sinister spectacle once and for all. Chapter 5. Foes Resurface. The sun hung low in the Los Santos sky, casting long shadows that painted the city in hues of orange and crimson. Trevor Phillips, rugged and unshaven, stared out at the skyline from the ramshackle motel room he had rented. He had returned to the city he once terrorized, and the ghosts of his past transgressions seemed to be awakening. It started with a knock on the door, a rap so sharp that it jolted Trevor from his introspection. He grabbed a nearby combat knife and cautiously approached, the paranoia that had become his constant companion gnawing at his mind. When he opened the door, his past came rushing back at him. "Hello, Trevor," a sinister voice drawled, revealing a menacing grin beneath the brim of a fedora. It was Steve Haynes, a crooked FIB agent he had clashed with in the past. Trevor's eyes narrowed as his grip tightened on the knife. "Haynes," he growled, his voice dripping with venom. "What brings you here?" Haynes stepped into the room, his cold eyes scanning the cluttered interior. "Oh, just a little score to settle, my friend. You see, you cost me a promotion, and I've never been one to forgive and forget." The room suddenly felt too small for both men, and the air grew thick with tension. Memories of their past encounters flashed before Trevor's eyes, the torturous interrogations, the relentless pursuit, and the chaos that had ensued. As if on cue, another figure stepped from the shadows, revealing a scarred and menacing face. It was Stretch, a former member of the Ballast Gang, whom Trevor had violently removed from the criminal equation during his reign of terror. "Look who's back, Trevor," Stretch sneered, cracking his knuckles. "We've been playing this for a long time." Trevor knew he was outnumbered, but he was never one to back down from a fight. He lunged at Haynes, the knife flashing in the dim light. The ensuing brawl was brutal, the sounds of grunts and blows echoing through the room. Trevor's resilience and brutality were on full display as he fought off both of his foes. Haynes, however, managed to land a crippling blow, sending Trevor crashing to the floor. Stretch moved in to deliver a final, bone-crushing punch when an unexpected ally came to Trevor's aid. Maria, the skilled fighter he had allied with, appeared with a fury of her own, driving Stretch back. The room descended into chaos as Trevor and Maria fought for their lives against the relentless onslaught of Haynes and Stretch. Blood was spilled, and the motel room became a battleground of broken furniture and shattered dreams. In the end, Trevor and Maria's sheer determination and will to survive proved victorious. Haynes and Stretch, battered and broken, were left defeated and humiliated. Trevor, breathing heavily and nursing his wounds, stood over them, his eyes smoldering with a mix of anger and satisfaction. "Foes from the past, huh?" he growled, wiping blood from his lip. "Looks like the past just got a taste of the present." Chapter 6. The Puppet Master's Machinations. The city hummed with its usual discordant melody, but beneath its cacophonous exterior, a clandestine symphony orchestrated by the Puppet Master played on. Trevor and Maria, bound by a reluctant alliance, delved deeper into the shadows, seeking the elusive truth behind the enigmatic figure's grand machinations. Under the cloak of night, they ventured into the heart of Los Santos' criminal underbelly. Dark alleys whispered secrets, and neon lights cast eerie glows upon their determined faces. Each step they took seemed to resonate with the city's pulse, a pulse tainted with fear and anticipation. Trevor, His eyes ablaze with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion, led the way, his instincts honed from years of survival in the lawless landscape. Maria, with her unwavering determination, kept pace, her eyes scanning their surroundings for any signs of danger. Their investigation led them to the derelict remains of an abandoned warehouse, a sanctuary for the city's forgotten. Inside, they found a labyrinthine network of interconnected rooms, each filled with clues that painted a chilling portrait of the puppet master's true intentions. Among stacks of documents and surveillance photos, they discovered a complex plot involving high ranking officials, influential crime lords, and unsuspecting pawns. The puppet master's manipulation extended far beyond the confines of the underground fighting ring. He was pulling strings that reached into the very heart of the city's power structure. As they pieced together the puzzle, Trevor's mind swirled with a whirlwind of emotions: anger at the audacity of the puppet master, curiosity about the extent of his influence, and a growing sense of responsibility to stop the madness that had gripped the city. Maria, too, felt the weight of their discovery. The lines between ally and enemy blurred in the face of such deception. Trust became a rare commodity, and every shadow seemed to conceal a potential threat. Despite the challenges, their partnership deepened as they relied on each other to navigate the labyrinthine conspiracy. With each revelation, the city's criminal underground grew more chaotic. The puppet master's influence cast a sinister veil over Los Santos, turning allies into adversaries and sowing discord among former associates. Loyalties crumbled like ancient ruins, leaving behind a landscape of shifting allegiances. Yet, amidst the chaos, Trevor and Maria remained resolute. They shared stolen moments of camaraderie in the midst of danger, finding solace in the unlikeliest of alliances. Their determination burned brighter as the puppet master's whip tightened around them, threatening to snuff out their defiance. The night wore on, but Trevor and Maria pressed forward, driven by a relentless pursuit of the truth. Each piece of the puzzle brought them closer to unraveling the puppet master's ultimate scheme, and with every revelation, their resolve strengthened. In the depth of the night, they emerged from the warehouse, their expressions etched with determination. The city's chaotic pulse beat in rhythm with their own hearts, and in their eyes glinted a steely resolve. The puppet master's machinations had pushed them to the edge, but they stood firm, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Little did they know that their relentless pursuit of the truth would lead them to a confrontation that would test their limits and reshape the fate of Los Santos forever. Chapter 7: Betrayals and Conspiracies. As Trevor and Maria delved deeper into their mission to expose the puppet master's nefarious plans, they found themselves ensnared in a complex web of betrayals and conspiracies that would test their trust in each other and push their limits to the breaking point. The underground fighting tournament was in full swing, the dimly lit arena filled with the roar of the crowd as combatants battled in the ring. Trevor and Maria moved like shadows through the chaos, determined to unveil the truth behind the puppet master's sinister plot. Their first sign of betrayal came from within their own circle. A fighter they had befriended, Sam, suddenly turned on them, revealing himself to be a spy for the puppet master. Trevor had a keen sense for deception, and as he and Maria fought to fend off their former ally, Trevor couldn't help but wonder how many other moles the puppet master had planted in their midst. As they overpowered Sam and forced him to reveal critical information, they discovered that the puppet master had been manipulating events behind the scenes, orchestrating matchups, and influencing the tournament's outcomes. The revelation sent shockwaves through Trevor and Maria. The entire underground tournament was just a facade, a game controlled by the puppet master to further his criminal ambitions. Tension between Trevor and Maria grew as they grappled with this revelation. Trevor's paranoia had always been a defining trait, and now it was in overdrive. He couldn't shake the feeling that there were more traitors among them, and he suspected everyone, even Maria. Maria, on the other hand, was determined to keep their partnership intact. She confronted Trevor, demanding he trust her. The emotional exchange between them, filled with frustration and fear, revealed their vulnerability. Their alliance had been founded on necessity, but now it was being tested in the crucible of deception and danger. Their investigation led them to a shadowy meeting where the Puppet Master's co-conspirators gathered. Trevor and Maria, disguised and hidden in the shadows, listened to the sinister plot being hatched. The Puppet Master aimed to seize control of the criminal empire that ruled Los Santos by pitting rival gangs against each other, ensuring the city's descent into chaos. Betrayal also lurked within these ranks. One of the co-conspirators, a high-ranking gang member named Carlos, had doubts about the Puppet Master's vision. He revealed himself to be a potential ally, offering crucial information about the upcoming moves that could change the tide of the power struggle in Los Santos. With newfound information, Trevor and Maria faced a daunting choice. They could expose the Puppet Master's conspiracy and risk their lives, or they could use the inside information from Carlos to infiltrate the criminal underworld, hoping to dismantle the Puppet Master's plan from the inside. It was a decision that could tear them apart or solidify their partnership. As they left the clandestine meeting, the tension between Trevor and Maria reached its peak. The specter of betrayal loomed over them, and they both understood that their mission had just become even more perilous. They needed to navigate this treacherous path with caution, relying on their wits, resilience, and the fragile trust they had left in each other. Chapter 8: Showdown on the Horizon. The Los Santos night hung heavy with anticipation, and in the quiet of Trevor's hideout, the sinister grandeur of the Puppet Master's scheme loomed over them. The flickering neon lights of the city outside painted grotesque shadows across the room, where Trevor and Maria meticulously planned their strategy for the impending showdown. The walls were lined with maps, surveillance photos, and cryptic messages they had intercepted about the Puppet Master's operations. Trevor paced restlessly, his eyes darting across the evidence board, while Maria sat at a cluttered table, her expression steely and focused. "We've got to nail this son of a bitch, Maria," Trevor muttered, punctuating each word with a heavy step. "He's turned our city into his playground, and I won't stand for it." Maria nodded, her voice unwavering. "I'm with you, Trevor. We need to bring him down, expose his entire operation, and put an end to this madness." As they continued to discuss their plan, Trevor couldn't help but admire Maria's determination. She was no pushover, that was for sure. Her eyes, full of grit and intelligence, matched his own. They were kindred spirits in their quest for justice, and in that alliance, Trevor found a rare sense of trust that he hadn't felt in a long time. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance, a constant reminder of the chaos that had gripped the city. The Puppet Master's nefarious plot had thrown the criminal underworld into disarray. It was a tense atmosphere, and Trevor could feel the weight of Los Santos resting on their shoulders. Hours passed, and the two fighters refined their plan, analyzing every detail. They knew they had to infiltrate the Puppet Master's underground network, gather evidence, and confront him head-on. Trevor's penchant for chaos would be their biggest advantage, and Maria's strategic mind would keep them on track. The clock struck midnight, and Trevor's phone buzzed with a message. It was an anonymous tip about a secret meeting location for the Puppet Master's associates. This was their chance to get closer to their target. With grim determination, Trevor and Maria set out into the night, their minds focused on the impending confrontation. The city's neon-lit streets transformed into a maze of possibilities and dangers, all leading to one inevitable climax. As they approached the meeting location, the tension in the air was palpable. Trevor gripped the handle of his weapon, while Maria checked her equipment. This was the moment they had been waiting for, the first step towards exposing the puppet master and taking back their city. The stage was set, the players ready, and the final act was about to begin. Trevor and Maria would stop at nothing to bring the puppet master's reign of terror to an end. With each step, they inched closer to the ultimate showdown that would determine the fate of Los Santos, and whether redemption was within Trevor's grasp. Chapter 9: Reckoning. The night hung heavy over Los Santos, the city's skyline ablaze with neon and the cacophony of life on its streets. Trevor and Maria, their faces marred by the trials they had endured, found themselves standing at the precipice of their greatest challenge yet. The underground fighting tournament had been a mere prelude to the puppet master's grand scheme, a revelation that left them both stunned. In a dimly lit, abandoned warehouse, the final acts of the city's twisted theater were set to play out. The eerie silence was broken by the menacing footsteps of the puppet master, a shadowy figure in the background who had orchestrated this chaos. As he revealed himself, his voice dripped with malevolence. "Welcome, Trevor Phillips, and your intriguing accomplice, Maria. You've proven to be quite entertaining." The warehouse was a labyrinth of concealed traps and combat arenas, designed to keep Trevor and Maria on their toes. They were pitted against the puppet master's minions, hardened criminals who fought with ruthless intent. Maria, with her martial arts prowess, dispatched her opponents with a graceful brutality, showcasing her fighting skills. Trevor's trademark recklessness was his weapon, the wild, unpredictable force of nature that had earned him notoriety. As the battles raged on, the tension in the room thickened. Trevor and Maria, with sweat and grime smeared across their faces, fought valiantly, but the odds seemed stacked against them. The puppet master's minions were relentless, striking with calculated precision and exploiting every opportunity to gain an upper hand. But in the midst of the chaos, unexpected alliances formed. A few of the puppet master's henchmen, disillusioned with his sinister intentions, secretly helped Trevor and Maria. The dynamic of the battle shifted, as friends became foes, and foes turned allies. The fight raged from one arena to another, each one more perilous than the last. Trevor's relentless pursuit of redemption had never been more palpable. His internal turmoil had given way to a focused, almost manic determination. Maria, too, carried the weight of her own vendettas, and her motives became clearer with each strike, each kick. Throughout the chapter, a sense of unease hung in the air. The puppet master, hidden behind his puppeteer's strings, continued to pull them. The true extent of his plan, the city's fate, and Trevor's ultimate redemption remained shrouded in mystery. Amidst the turmoil, Trevor and Maria's bond grew stronger. They watched each other's backs, anticipating each other's moves, and finding a strange synergy in their shared objective. It was a partnership that transcended mere camaraderie, born from the chaos they had faced together. The final showdown approached, the last arena, and the moment of reckoning. The puppet master's plan, the fate of Los Santos, and Trevor's journey toward redemption all came to a head. It was a battle not just for survival, but for the soul of the city itself. Chapter 10: Reckless Redemption. The sky above Los Santos was a canvas of oranges and purples, the setting sun casting long shadows across the city. Trevor Phillips stood on a rooftop, overlooking the sprawling metropolis that had been both his playground and his prison for so many years. He took a deep breath, the city's acrid air filling his lungs as he contemplated the path that had led him to this moment. Below, the city buzzed with life, oblivious to the events unfolding high above the skyline. The underground tournament was over, and the fate of Los Santos now hung in the balance. Trevor, his face bruised and bloodied, turned to Maria, his unlikely ally. They had come a long way since their first meeting, and their journey had been fraught with danger, betrayal, and self-discovery. Maria. Trevor's voice was gruff, but there was a hint of vulnerability that hadn't been there before. It's time to end this. Maria, her eyes filled with determination, nodded in agreement. The final battle was imminent, and they knew that it was not just a fight for their lives, but for the soul of the city itself. Descending from the rooftop, Trevor and Maria made their way to an abandoned warehouse, the location of the puppet master's lair. The air was thick with tension as they entered, their footsteps echoing in the dimly lit space. There, they confronted the puppet master, a shadowy figure in the center of the room. His voice oozed with arrogance as he taunted them, revealing his grand plan to take control of the city's criminal empire and manipulate it for his own gain. Trevor's eyes burned with a fiery intensity as he stepped forward. You think you can control the city? You think you can control me? His words reverberated through the room. The final battle began, a fierce and relentless confrontation that tested the limits of Trevor and Maria's abilities. The puppet master had a cadre of skilled fighters at his disposal, but Trevor and Maria fought with an unbreakable resolve. The echoes of gunshots and bone-crushing blows filled the air as the battle raged on. As the fight continued, Trevor's mind raced. Memories of his past, the people he had hurt, and the violence he had inflicted flooded his consciousness. He wondered if there was any way to find redemption for his actions. At one critical moment, when it seemed that the puppet master might gain the upper hand, Maria, who had grown to respect Trevor's complex character, risked her life to protect him. It was a pivotal moment that showcased the growth of their bond and the possibility of redemption. In a climactic final act, Trevor and Maria managed to defeat the puppet master and his henchmen, ending his reign of terror and chaos. The city, for the first time in a long while, felt a glimmer of hope. As the dust settled and the sirens of approaching police cars grew nearer, Trevor and Maria stood in the wreckage of the battle. Trevor's face was marked by exhaustion and determination, and Maria's eyes sparkled with newfound purpose. You did it, Maria said, her voice filled with admiration. You've taken the first step towards redemption. Trevor, wiping the blood from his face, nodded slowly. Maybe there's a chance for a new path, he admitted, a hint of vulnerability in his voice. The story ends with Trevor and Maria leaving the abandoned warehouse, the city's future uncertain, but with a glimmer of hope. Trevor's character arc has come full circle, leaving a lasting impression that even in the darkest of places, redemption is possible. In the heart of Los Santos, where chaos once reigned, a new chapter had begun, and the city had witnessed the reckless redemption of Trevor Phillips. Hey there, fellow fiction enthusiasts. I hope you've been enjoying the audio stories on MutedGamerFiction as much as I've loved bringing them to you. Your support means the world to me, and today, I've got a small request for you. If you've been relishing these audiobooks and fan fiction tales, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, and, of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Your likes, comments, and subscriptions are like fuel to my storytelling fire, and they keep this channel going strong. I'd also love to hear from you. Whether you've got a particular fanfiction suggestion you're dying to share, or simply want to say hi, feel free to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. This channel is a community of like-minded fans, and your input is incredibly valuable. So, thank you once again for being a part of MutedGamerFiction. Keep those headphones on, immerse yourself in our stories, and let's continue this exciting journey together. Your support keeps the stories coming, and I can't wait to see what fan fiction ideas you have in mind. Happy listening, and remember to hit those like, comment, and subscribe buttons. See you in the next chapter.